So we're going on to second chapter for today. We are looking at three parts, as you can see. So a bit of politics, then law and business ethics. So focus on, actually, no, give me a while, huh? So there's this one more thing on the economic systems as well. Okay, so 4 parts, all right? So we're going to focus on the economics portion first. This one, quite straightforward. Okay, never mind, I won't use that word. Every time I say it's easy, then everyone disagrees. So, okay, economic systems, think of it along a continuum, right? So the economic systems, something. Okay, I use this then. Hello, still early. This one. Okay. So the full write-up is in the study guide, okay? But to avoid like you reading and no one looking at me, so I just show you the diagram. After a while, nothing to see, you come back to looking at me, all right? Okay, so in terms of economic systems, because we are globalized and then we are operating in different countries, so we need to understand how the different economic systems work. Okay, so we have two extreme ends, all right? We have a market economy. So this is they call it the pure competition, the pure free market, or sometimes you call it the market economy. So the characteristics of this is that it is purely just based on the forces of demand supply. There is no government involvement. It is just purely by the actions of consumers and the firms. So it could result in a situation where, let's say, cigarettes could cost, let's say, 10 cents per packet, $1 per packet. Going to school, because it is important to uplifting your lives, improving your financial situations, it could cost, let's say, $2,000 per month to attend a primary school. Then university could cost you $1 million, right? Given that it's so important. So no one is going to interfere in anything, right? You just look at the price. Okay, to go into this normal grade university, it's $1 million for the whole degree program. If you can, you go. If you can't, then you just make do with whatever you have, right? Your education. So in that case, the consumers and the firms will decide the pricing. In that situation, would that be good or bad? Fast, right? Shouldn't like ask questions so fast. Again, so we have all this, but we're just focusing on the bluish purple portion, the pure competition. So the free market economy is where there's no government intervention, purely by the forces of demand, supply, consumers and firms. They will determine the prices, they will determine the output level. Okay, so if you're going to this country, then you are receiving less interference from government. It is mostly what you can sell, what the consumers see, what competition you're facing, and so on. So in that case, let's say first thing to think about, if we are selling, let's say you go and sell education service, right? Set up a school, and education is so expensive now. It's costing $1 million for that degree. Would that be beneficial? Would that be disadvantageous? Any thoughts? Less. Oh, okay. So it becomes very restrictive to go for lessons. We probably have very few people who can afford and then go to school. Anything else? All good? All bad? So from the consumer side, probably is not that great, right? Because the prices can go up very high. From the firm's perspective, would it be the best situation to have no government intervention? Okay, that could be the case. Hello. Okay, so market economy, So this on one side. Now on the other end, we have the planned economy, or sometimes we call the central economy. So on the other extreme end here, you see the word communism. So here there is no free play. So the government makes the decisions, how much to produce, what you can consume, right? What's available in the economy, they will decide. So you see that countries like North Korea is very over there in the extreme end, right? And you have watched documentaries, you may have seen like let's say the citizens going to the barber shop. They cannot decide on their own hairstyle. There's only like that few options to choose. Very straightforward. Okay, let me see if I can find this one. Okay, very interesting. Right? This one also online. Okay, so this was on 2014, updated 2014. So you can actually choose the hairstyles that you want. But that also means that you cannot go outside of this. So they have really decided, okay, these are the allowed hairstyles for females, for ladies in the country. So you are not able to have a blonde hair, right? You're not able to bleach. You're not supposed to like color and all that. So using all this, you can decide what you want, okay, within the confines. Interesting, right? So, hello. So then, coming back here, where was it? Okay, so if this is the case, suppose I'm thinking of entering the country to produce or to set up. Would it be a good choice? Not so good choice? Yes, no, I cannot talk all the way, otherwise you feel bored, right? So I have to talk to you, then you like answer a bit. Okay. But yeah, probably after a while you realize that no eye contact, then you probably will escape. After a while, no one looks at me anymore. Yes, anything. So pure competition is ideal, or is it like communism, centrally planned economy is ideal for a firm to set up? Let's say for consumers, right? What impact would it be for them?
Everything for the firm or for the consumer?
Anything.
I would say the firm in pure competition is the best
Okay.
due to the fact that there is no intervention from any other outsourced groups.
Okay. Then for centrally planned, not as good because government is just look like over your shoulder. Okay. So communism is all based on the government's decisions. Market economy is purely just based on firms, right? And we see that over here, they technically didn't label any countries at the extreme ends. So we can sort of say that it's more on a continuum, all right? We may not have 100% centrally planned economy. You could have a 90%, 80%, let's say North Korea, that is closer to the left side. Whereas for US, Japan is more on the right side. Okay, so different countries have different rules and regulations, different types of economies, right? In the middle, we have the mixed economies. Okay, so mixed economies, you'll get a mixture, right? So there is some sort of a government intervention, there is some sort of a free play involved. Let's say Singapore's case, right? Any examples where there is intervention and where there is minimal intervention? Okay, so Singapore will fall into the mixed economy category, right? So that means if you are mixed, you have a bit of government intervention or a lot, somewhat, and then you have some free play in some areas. Okay, we zoom in a bit. So in terms of industries, products, any examples where government comes in, they intervene. And some cases where up to you, you do what you want. Okay, well, what about it?
Is there like a heavier tax on alcohol?
Okay, so in terms of taxes, right? Let's say we look at Singapore's alcohol tax. Okay, so $88 per liter. So Singapore's tax, this is on top of the GST, right? So GST as a base applied everywhere, right? So let's say we don't care about GST, but is there additional tax imposed? So alcohol, yes, they impose this. Then if you are taxing people, that means you are making it more expensive. So we tax the firms will make the prices higher. So what is the rationale here? Okay, then for what?
Are you talking about the firm or for the consumer?
So with the taxes, the consumption will drop, the production will drop, right? Because it's more expensive, people drink less. But why make it happen?
To use less alcohol
For what?
for the better of society.
Yes, okay. So this one here, we can link to economics concept, right? Did we go through market failure? Did we? Okay, yeah, okay. So this one, there's this problem where there is overconsumption. Okay, so in the free market, let's say the prices of alcohol is considered too low. So people tend to overconsume, they will drink too much and it leads to problem, right? So we have heard of things like drunk driving, right? So then you bang into someone. Or let's say smoking, right? So smoking, I smoke. That's my issue. But when I smoke next to you, then it becomes your problem now, right? Because over time, secondhand smoke accumulates. So your health issues and problems starts to come in, medical bills, but am I compensating you for it? No, right? I probably don't even know that you have this. So then in that case, we want to reduce all this, we impose taxes. Okay, so taxes one, then if you look at the opposite, right, we have subsidies. So let's say Singapore subsidies for anything. Actually, all the examples. I actually don't even have to ask. Okay. So they have different types of subsidies. So generally it will be for healthcare, education, right? Preschool. So we want to increase the consumption. So it could be very expensive, it could be very prohibitive in a free market. Free market, that means government doesn't intervene. So now then they come in, they give the subsidies, make it cheaper, make people be able to afford all this? So subsidies and taxes. Then would there be examples where they don't really bother you? So we will not push your behaviors to consume more or less, but it's up to you. It's up to you. Hello. Okay. So how? Anything that you buy, they don't really interfere. Clothing, right? Clothing. So you could wear this, you could wear that, buy this, buy that. They don't really bother. Okay. So these are the cases where you have like free play and then also like some sort of intervention. Questions? Okay. Too easy, right? Okay. No issues, so let's move on here. All right, so market economy, command economy, mixed economy. Okay, so we talk about different rules and regulations. Let's say if there's let's say more centrally planned element, right? This one, then it's going to face more red tape. Okay, so it said like red tape where it's more regulations. It takes a longer time to set up business there, right? If it's more of a market economy, then in that case, the firms are probably going to face less policies. So if I want to set up, right, let's say I want to set up a company in Singapore, would it be easy? Let's say we make a guess. Would it be easy? Let's say, okay, let's say I'm a local, right? I want to start a company. I may not need to have an office first, but let's say to register, so that in the eyes of the law, this is now a registered company. Could it be very troublesome? Would it take forever? It's just like done. Singapore.
Very quick.
Okay. So let's say we go to this website. Okay. So ACRA, Accounting Corporate Regulatory Authority, then you can actually go and set up a business here. Okay. So now let me see. Okay. Okay, so we can just follow the instructions and you see that there's only that few steps, right? And let's say you don't want to do it yourself. You can appoint someone to do it. This will take a very short period of time. You can see that name application $15. Fee for registering a company is $300. So that's all. All right. High, low, depending on how you see this, but this is the amount. So once you apply, if the name is up there, you have already officially registered. So with that, you can go apply for a corporate bank account. You may then start to look for an office. But if you don't want a physical office, that's fine. You can use your home address, right? So it's that quick. So why are they doing this? They could make it very complicated, right? You can say like we need 10,000 documents. It could take $3,000 to register, $2,000 just to apply for the name, right? By making this very cheap and fast free, they are achieving what objectives? What's it for?
Create more jobs in the locals.
Okay. Okay, so we are trying to invite people in, right? Because as we said yesterday, what kind of economy is Singapore? What is it reliant on? Reliant on. Yesterday, those who were here, yes, hello. Okay, imports and exports, right? So we have very scarce resources, natural resources. We are a lot on imports and exports. And at the same time, we pride ourselves as a financial hub, right? So the funds come in and flow. So we want to invite the firms to come in and then set up, also provide the jobs. Okay, so part of the environment here, right? Yesterday we mentioned about the low tax rates, right? Now the second portion is this one where it makes it very easy to set up a company. So let's say for your report, you may or may not be choosing a Singapore company. You can choose a US or whichever country. So then we can look at how easy to set up the business in that place. Or let's say your company that you choose, wherever they operate, are they choosing a country which is easier to set up? Are they facing more stringent policies, rules and regulations? And then what about the tax rate, right? So all these can be considered as we go along for our report. Questions? Yes.
So that company, was it an LLC or was it some sort of corporation?
Corporations. Okay. No issues, huh? Okay, then move on to this one first. This one interesting. So yesterday also we talked about ethics, right? We talked about business ethics because we raised the example of the child labor. Remember, right? Watch the nice, okay, not nice, I cannot say nice. We watched the memorable video, right, of the child labor. So now we bring on more concepts to this portion. So first thing we have is the circular economy. So linear economy. Okay, so previously, how firms thought or how they plan their production was more in a linear way. All right, let me zoom in a bit. So by linear, we can see here that it goes in a straight line, right? And we are quite familiar with this. So we have resource, extraction, production, distribution, consumption, disposal. So we take the resources and we produce, we send to customers, and they consume. Any problems with this way of operating? Waste. Okay, okay. Thanks for answering like all the questions. Otherwise, silence is my new friend. Okay, so we get more and more waste, and this is not good for the environment, right? So then from there, we start to think how we can actually improve, and this comes to the idea of the circular economy. Let me find a nicer one. Okay, this one. Okay, so circular economy, this is still largely similar. We still extract, we still produce, we still distribute and consume, but we realize that it comes back in a loop, right? So this is to do with sustainability. We are reusing the materials, and then we use them to produce the next round of products. Okay, so why do this? You see, as a firm, you can decide, right? I can just produce, let's say I just use any packaging, people just throw away, right? I don't need to care about all this. Now, let's say everyone is talking about sustainability. I need to replan my production, my operations, so that the resources can be used again. Why should I do that as a company? Any benefits? Okay, so business image could improve because
You're working in an ethical way.
so now you care for the environment, right? So people like you. Any examples of companies? Apple. Okay, how?
They have the program for tradings of their products. And they use their products to cycle it to produce new products.
Okay, okay. All right. So you guys slow down the example, huh? So we need examples for exams, okay? Because like no one is writing. Very shocking. But at least you came. Okay, so one more example that give me this one. Okay, so we look at this example. H&M sells motorcycles, right? Okay, so they sell clothing, and if you realize, like sometimes when you go in, they have this big basket and they ask you to throw in your used clothes. Okay, so this one relates to how they can make use of these used clothes to recycle and all that. Okay, so another example to use for the questions. All right, take a look here.
Are made from old clothes. It's part of a process that can turn nearly any used fabric into something brand new. And fashion retailer H&M bets this solution could eventually recycle some of the billions of tons of textile waste produced every year. But can a fast fashion company solve the problem it helped create? We went to Hong Kong and Sweden to find out. Most recycled textiles are turned into mattress stuffing or insulation, and the original materials are scraps from the factory floor, not used clothing. But this facility, inside a Hong Kong shopping mall, is the first in the world to turn used clothes into new clothes, all in one place. First, a technician like Emily Xiao examines the garment.
So today we will recycle old garments.
This ozone chamber sanitizes the fabric in about an hour. Then, Emily removes the buttons, labels, and zippers, and cuts the garment so the fabric is easy to work with. The shredder strips the bits of cloth down further, but this part of the process does require some new materials.
So we will add some virgin fibers into the yarns to
Emily then rolls the mixed fibers into clumps and feeds them into a machine that turns them into what's called a fiber web. But what happens next makes the assembly line in Hong Kong the first of its kind. The fiber web gets bundled into these snake-like slivers. The slivers are then spun into ply yarn, the building blocks of a new garment. Finally, a machine knits a new sweater based on a computer design. Shoppers pay about $65 to recycle clothing here.
How do we help consumers think about their clothes differently? Well, that's one of the reasons why we have a glass box doing research in a shopping mall.
The H&M Foundation partnered with the Hong Kong Research Institute of Textiles and Apparel. That investment allowed the company to license and install the technology at one of their stores in Stockholm, where the company is headquartered. H&M calls it the Loop. Here, shoppers pay only $18 to see the recycling process in action. That's about the price of a new pair of the brand's sweatpants.
That's how it comes out. And then this is the only part that has to be removed.
Virginia, the technician, trims the extra yarn and the garment is ready to go. It takes 3 days to recycle one garment. That seems like a lot of time and effort to turn a sweater into a new sweater. That's because a factory like this that can recycle thousands of tons of clothes a day doesn't exist yet. But H&M says that eventually this kind of technology could be a global solution for textile waste.
The holy grail is a garment-to-garment recycling. And that's for me where today most of our investment going to.
But the fashion retailer continues to grow by selling cheap clothes to more and more people.
How often do you go and buy new clothes?
Maybe one time a week.
How big is your wardrobe?
It's like maybe half of my apartment.
Well, retail, kings and queens. She needs a walk-in closet, yes.
But Swedes aren't the biggest contributors to textile waste. The average American spends over $1,800 a year on new clothes and throws away 200 t-shirts worth of textiles every year. People didn't always treat clothing as disposable. Fast fashion really took off in the 1990s, thanks to polyester. The synthetic fiber made from petroleum costs half as much as cotton.
I think very few people realize that most of the time today, they're wearing plastic.
By the year 2000, polyester overtook cotton as the most popular fiber in the world. That's the same year H&M opened its first U.S. store in New York City. Since then, global clothing production has doubled. And if nothing changes, it will nearly double again by 2030. All that used apparel can end up in places like Accra, Ghana, which has one of the world's largest secondhand clothing markets. Every week, 15 million garments pass through the Continental market, and nearly half of that goes to landfill, is burned, or gets swept into waterways.
We've completely devalued what clothing is. Clothing is now disposable, and I don't know how we come back from treating it like a plastic bag or like a plastic bottle.
Liz Ricketts has spent over a decade documenting how used clothes from wealthy countries are exported around the world.
The clothing that's going to landfill, a lot of it is wearable.
And a lot of the waste comes from familiar brands.
It's definitely the top 10, what you would expect. I mean, it's Zara, it's M&S.
It would take the loop recycling machine almost 50,000 years to deal with just 1 week's worth of waste from the market.
You can't really convince yourself that creating clothing but doing it better is somehow going to solve this issue that there's simply too much clothing.
Still, H&M executives say they're serious about scaling up recycling. The company has set a goal of using only recycled polyester by the end of the decade.
We have developed, together with Hong Kong Greta, a machine called the Green Machine.
The H&M Foundation invested $12 million into technologies like this machine that recycles polyester and plans to build a larger factory that can recycle over 3,000 pounds of clothes per day. But HK Rita's CEO admits that recycling has a long way to go before it can make a dent in the industry's growing waste output.
Commercial scale, useful recycling systems have to be in the order of magnitude of at least thousands of tons a day.
Today, less than 1% of used clothing is recycled into new garments.
It is clear to us that we don't have a lot of time. We have this danger of doing too little too late.
Experts say that recycling can never solve the problem of textile waste.
Brands have basically convinced citizens that we have a waste problem because we don't have recycling technology. That is not why we have a waste problem. It's only going to be solvable if we confront growth and if companies stop overproducing.
H&M has no plans to reduce production of new clothing.
We are a growth company. Our ambition is how do we make that growth being meaningful?
And consumers can do their part by buying less and holding on to their current wardrobe longer.
We always recommend that people take a year off of buying anything new.
Even HK Rita's CEO recognizes recycling alone can't solve the problem. The companies that manufacture clothes will need to change the way they do business. And that is what keeps him up at night.
My nightmare scenario in the industry is that we are satisfied. We're happy with very modest goals but that doesn't really do anything for anybody. And then we'll be accused of greenwashing, and by and large, it'll be true.
So the example of recycling the materials, you picked up something, right? So this one, I'll keep the link. Let me see if I include it. So, okay, this one. Hello. So, okay, so the link is there. You guys can take a look, all right, in case you need for your example, okay? So this one is the case on H&M. There is another example. Let me see this one, okay? There is another example of Philips, okay? So if you are familiar with Philips, it sells products, of course, right? So one of the things that it sells is light bulb. So previously, it used to sell light bulb, and then you just buy the light bulbs, you install at home, right? Later on, they changed this to a service model. So they changed this to a service model. You don't have to buy a light bulb, you can just rent it. So it is not yours, it is still theirs, but you are renting it and you have it in your office, at your places, at your homes. So if there's any issue, they will come over, they will repair for you. If there's nothing wrong, of course, just pay money, right? Just use it, pay rental. Anything comes to your mind, any benefits, any problems when you change the business model. So at first, you're just selling light bulb, okay? People use until it damages, throw away. Then we get a new one. Then now they change the model to a service-based where you rent the light bulb, it doesn't belong to you, but you use it. There's a problem, they will come and fix it because it still belongs to Philips. Of course, day to day, nothing is wrong, just use the light, right? Then once you are done, they will come, take it back and use it somewhere else. Okay? Any pros, any cons come to mind when we think about how they change the business model? Sustainability, right? Okay. So how? Why? Okay, so it's reusable. We can use it in different places, right? It doesn't have to belong to one person to throw it away. Any problems with this business model?
It's more expensive.
Because
you have to rent rather than buy once to pay over time.
Oh, okay. So over time, as the buyer, you're paying more. Okay, probably yes. What about from the firm's perspective? How could the cost change? Okay, because
you will be charging extra fee on top of the light bulb.
Okay.
Service.
Okay, that's our definition. Okay. So possibly, right, you charge a service. It may or may not come with the light bulb, right? So it could be included and then you don't have to pay anything. It may or may not be. Previously it was in another place, and then they actually they don't have they didn't buy the photocopy machine, so they rented. All right. Then after that, what happened was every time something damaged, right? Let's say the photocopier is super big, it's like commercial scale. So it's very prone to problem. Every now and then, right, they say, oh, the stapler function damaged. This one today cannot print A4, tomorrow cannot print A3, right? So every other day they will call. In a way, it's good because it doesn't belong to you. You don't have to fix it yourself. So they will call up, I think, or Xerox, right? If you know the firm, if you know the brand Xerox. Okay, so photocopy, this is the brand. Okay, Xerox. All right, so Xerox. So they'll call up and then they'll say, okay, so don't print first, don't use the stapler function first, and then they'll come over, right? So it's a bit convenient. So as the buyer, we find that it's convenient because you don't need to find ways to fix it. Of course, simple things you can do it, right? You don't have to wait. But the technician is always available. I didn't hear them say whether they paid or not, so I assume that it wouldn't be payable. Okay, all right, because they're already renting, so I think the rental of the machine already covers the service fee, right? Anytime, unless it's like a major thing, they probably may need to top up. Okay, so that would be the issue. That would be the pros and cons, all right? Okay, so we can use this as an example because here we talk about the sustainability, right? So this portion on ethics. So we talk about sustainability first, right? One component. So sustainability here, we can use the example of H&M as we saw just now in the video. Then we can talk about the case of Philips. So whether it could be something extra that we do, which is that we take in the old clothes, we recycle into new clothes. It could be how we change the business model. That means instead of selling light bulbs, we sell the lighting services, right? We rent out the light bulbs. Okay, so please do remember the examples, okay, and then use it in the exams. The other thing to look at would be in terms of your social aspect. Okay, so we talk about this concept. Okay, so you may or may not have heard this if you if you did previous modules, they may have talked about this model before, right? So we call this a triple bottom line. Why or how this name came about, right? If you have done accounting, if you look at the income statement, okay, let me find income statement. Okay, so something like that. If you go look for the listed companies, we have income statement. Okay, something like that, right? So any listed company, they will have to provide all these statements because you can buy their shares, right? So they need to tell you how much they're earning, how much they are spending, what is the profit, what is the revenue, etc. Okay, so here, this is an example. Okay, this is not a full, very comprehensive one, but it looks something like that, right? So we have the revenue, net sales, the cost, and then minus the other costs. When you come down, this is the net income, right? Or like the net profit. So this last line there, the net income, we call this the bottom line because this is the last line, right? The bottom line. So traditionally, we say that firms, they are concerned with the bottom line. They are interested to maximize profits. This is okay, right? And of course, like this is how we think of a firm, right? Why set up? To make money, right? Usually your first goal is not to do good or whatever. That is after you are very rich. This could be your second, third business, right? Then you think about that. But let's say now I'm just starting out. I want to do a business. Then probably I'm thinking about maximizing profit. So this is the bottom line, right? This is the bottom line. So this is how we understand. Then from there we evolve and we have this triple bottom line concept. Bottom line used to be the firm's traditional focus. All about money, 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 right? But now it cannot be because everyone is paying attention to other aspects. Are you doing good to society? Are you good to the environment, right? And it's not just about money. And of course, the bigger you are, the more profits you make, people pay more closer attention. Okay, so what are they looking at? So here you see that nicely they all start with P, right? So people, planet, profit. Okay, so people, planet, profit. So profit, of course, the usual bottom line, right? Then we have the planet and we have the people. So the 3 Ps, okay? The 3 Ps. So the planet aspect more about the environment, which we talked about just now. So things like using your resources in a more conservative manner, reusing the resources, right? Like what HMN and also like what Philips did, they changed the business model. It could incur or generate less wastage. All right, so that is more on the planet side. People side, we talk about how we help community. You help the society. So there are people who are very well off, people who are less well off, right? So we help them. Any companies, any examples come to mind when we talk about this element, this part? Okay. Okay, so does it? Yeah, very rich company. So people, does it help people?
Yeah.
How?
The service is good, like having the cheap batteries are cheap.
Okay.
That's one of the most popular combined.
Okay. So that could be one, right? Help the consumers. Then if you look at other perspective, right? Let's say one area could be, okay, give the example of this one. Okay, just use this. Okay. Now it's 2024, around 2026, right? Around, no, not 2026, 2016, right? So about almost 10 years ago, I was with UOB. Okay, so UOB, this is a bank, right? Even though they're all running here. This is a bank. If you heard about them, right? There's a branch nearby also. Okay, you just cross the road, there's a branch there. So this is a bank, okay, essentially. So I graduated and I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to just rest. So I just applied, right? Anything, right? Any job. Some salary would be good to compared to zero. So I applied and then yes.
Is that a working event?
This one, yeah, employee event. Yeah, come to that later. Give me a while. So I joined and then it was around July, I think. So I came in, this coincided with this event. Okay, so they call this a heartbeat run, right? So we went in July. This, I think, took place around July also. So immediately after you join, right, they're asking you, do you want to make donations? Right? It's not compulsory, but you know your colleagues are making donations. why are you not? Right? A bit of like soft peer pressure. But I didn't, okay? It was my first job, very young. Like I'm here to work and earn money, right? Of course, it's about doing good, but I haven't earned a single cent yet. So it was a bit like, okay, never mind. I'm not going to donate this round. So anyway, those who are already working and then they were already collecting donations, right? Even before I joined. So June, May, probably they already started. So this event here is a yearly event. It's held on a Sunday. So you can see here, it's a marathon, right? Marathon/run walk, okay? Depending on your level, because the bank has people from different demographics, right? You don't expect everyone in the bank to be an athlete. It doesn't make sense, right? Some people are older, they can hardly run. Some people are very young, right? They can run faster. So if you can run faster, then yeah, you can run faster like that, right? I remember my group of colleagues, they were just walking. I didn't join because you have to participate, you pay, and then you go for this walk, right? And then for them, they was like, okay, they paid and then they have to come down. So it was on a Sunday morning. So it's your off day, no choice, right? You spend half the day until about noon time. So just go for a walk. So as you walk, then you just chit chat with friends. Okay, I just joined, right? I had no friends, no money, no time. So I didn't go. Very sad. Okay. So this is every year. All right. So anyway, this one is more than just running for fun. So the funds that they collected, right? Let me see if they have it here. You can see that this is for causes, right? That align with things like art, children, and education. Okay, so not just telling the story for fun, huh? Yes.
You mean chit chat? Is it like chit chat friends from who are working at UOB?
Yeah.
Oh.
Your colleagues, colleagues, friends. I just joined, so I know one. So, so they raise the funds. Okay, they raise the funds. They don't keep it, right? But they encourage you to donate. So the bank, of course, the management team, directors and all, they donate more, right? But let's say you're the ground level, you're a junior employee, then $10, $20, right? Up to you. So they raise funds for this, and this is an example of doing good for society. Okay, so we talk about like the environment aspect. This one to do with the social aspect because they are caring about children, education, art. Let me see. Okay, improve the lives of disadvantaged children and families around the world. Okay, so you may want to use this as well. So just giving you a lot of examples. So you can talk about the Heartbeat Run. This one is the Global Heartbeat Run. It takes place around July. Then I mention when it takes place. So every year they have, and they will get the employees to come in. The employees can bring the friends and families. Okay, so if I want, I can bring my whoever come along, just stroll, just run, and then have a good Sunday. And then after that, you can go home. Okay, so social aspect and also environmental aspect. So altogether, it also brings us to this term on the corporate social responsibility, right? Or in short, we call this CSR, right? Because it's a very long phrase. So CSR, again, is a big thing, not just recently, but from like maybe 1-2 decades ago. Okay, even when I was like studying university, at that time, the lecturer, the professors were already talking about this term, right? So it's saying like it appears in different contexts. Here we are looking at international business, right? At that time, I was doing marketing module, doing HR. So this term always pops up. Okay, so it can be used in different areas. You can use to boost your image. It can be, let's say, through your hiring practice. Okay, another example, you're taking down, right? Taking down, right? No, minimal writing. Okay, okay. So this is on Apple. You can use examples of other companies. So Apple here. Okay, let me interrupt. Let me find this one. Okay, so we look at Apple's website. Okay, so that was based on the stats, right? The data. So we look at Apple's website, and you can see here they also mention these different data. Okay, so predominantly, right, we have the issues. If you have read anywhere, right, you have things like the males have higher wages, the females, right, for the same role, same experience, they may earn lower wages. So like inequality over there. And also like the females may tend to be disfavored, not favored, or let's say when we are hiring for certain roles. So for Apple's case, let's say here, they say that, okay, so for gender, this one, they try to show that it's actually quite inclusive. They are not purposely just hiring like 90% male, but this one still on the healthier side, right? 60 to 30. Then as we go down, I can see here that it is not mostly just white. So if you look at it from, let's say, the US context, where let's say predominantly it will be like the Caucasians, then the whites, right, will be the main ones, but it's not like 90% whites, right? They try to keep it more spread out. So you have like the Asians, even like the blacks, like the Hispanics, and so on. So why raise all this here? Because they want to show that they are very inclusive. And this is also part of your corporate social responsibility, the social side. Because we are not here just to make money, but we want to provide jobs to different people from different backgrounds, different genders. So they also mentioned this here. I say we can choose, let's say tech. Tech, maybe more males. Then this one here still quite about the same. Let's say look at leadership. Leadership, more females, a bit more females, then less males. And then this one here, a bit more whites, also Asians quite healthy. So you can see like in different roles, different departments, they are still trying to achieve this over here. Okay, so it can come in different forms. It need not be just one way. As you can see, like H&M, Philips, Apple, they are doing it different ways. Let's give you one more example. If you buy from Body Shop, all very CSR. Okay, so you see like different elements of the CSR. You have things like empowering women, against the animal testing, like then fair trade, packaging, recycled plastics. Yeah, you can just use this and then like answer everything, right? To do with CSR. So we are a feminist brand fighting for equality is in our DNA, and then making the world a fair and safe place for the ladies. Okay, so how they do that? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we'll fight for equality of rights. We'll use our platform to amplify feminist leaders. We'll create products and experiences that send a message of self-love and body acceptance and reject the beauty standards. Okay, then things like stopping violence at home. Let's say, what else? During COVID, right? And then there was a rise in domestic violence. So many women, men, and children were trapped at home and isolated from friends and family. So they launched this campaign to go against domestic violence. Okay, ample examples. So I have a lot of things to write. Questions? Okay, Philips, Tesla, then Body Shop. What else do we have? Apple. Okay, so just remember a few of these. Don't need everything, right? Just need some examples so that you can use inside your answers. Okay, so this is a recap from yesterday if you were here, right? How has globalization transformed international business practices? What are the key drivers behind this transformation? All right, so we have to look at, okay, first thing is you can look at the keywords, then you can use that to start. All right, so we don't know how to start, don't know what to write. First thing, you need to find any keywords to define, and then you start from there. So we can follow back the same structure, right? And then you just do the same for every question. So here, globalization, if you recall, we have a definition, this one. Okay, so you don't have to write all the way here or remember all the way here. You can just memorize this first line. Then after that, we can just copy paste. Yeah, here copy paste, all right? But in the answer itself, when you're doing for exam, of course, from your memory. Okay, so globalization refers to blah, 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 full stop. All right, on the next part, this one is 10 marks. We need 3 points. So how has globalization transformed international business practices? What are the key drivers behind this transformation? So we have 3 points to write. This question has 2 parts, correct? Okay, in case it's not obvious, So this is one part. I use red, and then this one here, yellow. Wrong color. Let's say, okay, I highlight this yellow. All right. So the red one and the black one. Okay, one in red, one highlighted. So we have 2 parts to address. We cannot miss out anything. Okay, so if you write 10 pages for the red portion and the black part we didn't write, we wouldn't get the full marks. Okay, if you only write the black part, same thing, we wouldn't get full marks. So right, it has to be for both. So now the thing is, you have 3 points. How do we allocate for these 2 parts? So this one here is up to you. You have that flexibility. The requirements are you address both parts, but they don't specify how many points for each. In terms of the overall length, we just need 3 points. Of course, if you want 4 points, you want to write 2, up to you. Okay, sometimes, let's say I have some time, I do quite quickly. I am also scared I don't answer well, so I write an extra point just to play safe. Okay, so I can write 2 points for this, and I can write 2 points for this. This okay? All right, so how has globalization transformed international business practices? What are the key drivers behind this transformation? So we will start with this, and then we'll say like the changes in the business practices. Right, so we take a look at what the part of the answer already includes. So here, so this definition, then globalization has transformed the business practices by creating a more interconnected world economy, and then they operate on a global scale, sourcing materials, manufacturing goods, selling products across borders. Okay, so this part of the explanation. This one makes sense to everyone? Okay, or okay, zoom in a bit, all right, in case, okay, no issues regarding this. Okay, so they have answered the red or the black. Again, this portion is answering the first part or the second part? First one. Okay, so we have 1 point here. This one for the first part of the question, right? The ones in red. Second paragraph. For businesses, globalization means greater access to new markets, consumers, cost efficiencies through global supply chains, opportunities for innovation. However, it also brings challenges like the increased competition, exposure to global risks, and the need to adapt to the environments. Okay, this one here answers which part? Okay, I close this, so closer. Okay. Second part, first part. So first one asks how the business practices have changed because of globalization. Then after that, second part asks the reasons why they changed like that. Okay, so first one talks about how they are sourcing from around the world. Second paragraph talks about access to new markets, consumers, cost efficiencies through global supply chains. Okay, so would the second paragraph be answering the second part? Not 3 questions. Okay, so this one we can take it to be answering the second part. So this answer that we have, what else do we need to add in?
What are the key drivers?
Okay, so we have 1 key driver or 1 paragraph worth. Then anything else to add on? Like what are the key drivers?
For direct investments. Are you talking about specific ones?
Sorry, technological advancements. Okay, then it will. Okay, so we need to be a bit more specific, huh? So yes, the points are valid. So how does it lead to the changes in the international business practices? So you talk about tech, if you talk about like other points, then we need to link to how the businesses have changed. Okay? Okay, so you have to come together. All right, cannot just like, okay, reason, then by itself. So it has a link to the first part. So the first part talks about like global supply chain, and then we are buying, selling across borders, right? This is a transformation, this is a change. So let's say tech, how has technology helped to make this transformation possible? Okay, online. Okay, all right. So I just add in a point form here. So, okay, so here, able to see. So this would be a rough outline. So we can use this for the answer, right? If it's short answered, actually not very short, okay? But we only have 16 questions. Okay, so it's still a very short exam, right? Very easy, manageable. You see, 16, never bluff you. So 10, 4, 2, right? And 10 are just MCQ. So probably 5 minutes you finish, right? So that gives you like 3 hours to do just 6 questions, right? Too easy. Probably like everyone's just getting distinctions. Okay, no one's responding anymore. Okay, so for this, right, in terms of the phrasing, it didn't specify the command word. Right, command word means what it tells us to do. Let's say we tell a dog, sit down, right? That's a command word, sit down, stand up. So there's a command. So here, like what are the things that telling us to do. They're asking us how has globalization, blah, blah, blah. What are the key drivers, blah, 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 right? So what are we doing here? This implied that we are actually explaining, all right? So asking you, hey, how come? Hey, why? Hey, what are the key drivers? So explain, right, using the theory. So in the exam itself, we'll face explanation questions, which will be majority. Okay, majority, not all. All right, majority will be explanation. They could be phrased like this. They could also ask, let's say we change the phrasing, explain how, then the whole thing behind. Okay, explain how globalization has transformed this and the key drivers behind this transformation. So it's the same thing, but first one is just question mark. Second one, they very clearly say explain, right? Explain, explain, explain. Explain simplest. Just use the theory, use a bit of guessing, then we have the answers. Now, the other kind of question that we have, not essay or short answer question difference, but the other way to ask a question is a discussion question. So here we have explain, so let me just done. Okay, so here we have explain. This is the common one, higher occurrence, higher frequency. So most of that will be explained. One or two question will be a discussion question. Okay, so it will come with the word discuss, or it could come with the word evaluate. So discuss / evaluate. Okay, so then we paste this here. Okay, so in this case, would they be the same thing? Cannot say yes, right? Because purposely already separate. So first one is explain, and then the phrasing is the same, right? How globalization, blah, blah, blah. Second one is discuss or evaluate how globalization, blah, blah, blah. So the back portion is all the same, right? You just saw me copy paste, but the front part, the command word is different. Okay, so this one we have to take note as well, okay, because we're talking about questions. So when you see discuss or evaluate questions, please remember, don't just explain. Okay, so we need to also include our own opinions. All right, this one you will need your own opinions. Okay, now we simplify this. All right, this one, okay, now explain. So let's say now we don't care about this, right? We look at a simpler concept to understand. Okay, so tonight I'm going for a gathering, right? Going for a party. Okay, I'm not. I want to go home and rest. But I just went. Yesterday we had class, right? I was telling, yesterday we had class at 12. And then I had another class until 5 plus. And then I had a dinner engagement that was supposed to start at 8:30, but it dragged till 9. So it started at 9, right? 9, then we leave this place to go for the fine dining place, and we ended up leaving at 11 plus. When I reached home, it was midnight. I didn't even shower. And then I just lay there and fell asleep. Okay? So yeah, you can come for a hug later, then you'll know whether I've already showered this morning. Okay, so now let's say I'm going for a very fanciful gathering tonight, all right? And then I have two options for my attire. I can wear this, or I can wear the tuxedo you see there, right? They look roughly the same. Okay, so and anyone. So tuxedo and this shirt. Okay, so now the question is asking, explain the options or explain the outfit that I can wear for tonight's gathering, right? Explain the outfit that we can wear for tonight's gathering. So when you're just explaining, we are just saying what I can wear, right? So I say, okay, this is a tuxedo. It has 3 pieces. You have a necktie, maybe a bow tie, and then inner shirt is white, black outer coat, and then long pants, right? For this one is just in gray, and then gray pants, and then everything. Okay, so we just explain the outfit, right? This is explanation. Then we see that for discussion question, we are supposed to include our opinions. So now we tweak the question, discuss the outfit that I can wear for tonight. Okay, not explain, discuss the outfit I can wear for tonight. So the answer, you will still have to mention what are the 2 types. Okay, so I have to say, okay, so option 1, you wear the tuxedo, black jacket, inner shirt, white, etc. Second option, you wear this outfit. This is the two options. Then after that, your opinion is to give a suggestion. Let's say for this question, discuss the outfit for tonight's gathering. Then probably you are telling me which one to choose, right? So the choosing part is what you consider best for me. It is your opinion. There's no right or wrong. I can wear this for the party. I can wear that for the party. But you would have a reason which one you choose. Maybe this is made from Gucci, right? And I'm going to Orchard tonight. So probably you're going to choose this for me, not this. This one from H&M. Okay, maybe from recycled, right? Just like you saw the recycled material. Okay, maybe not suitable. Or let's say if I'm going for a friend's gathering, right? Just going to the coffee shop, then probably this will be overdressed, right? And you wouldn't even wear so many layers to go coffee shop, right? So that in that case, because of a different context, this is not suitable or this is not suitable, right? But it's the same two options, right? So explain first, then you give your opinion, which one you choose for me. Okay, so this will be the simpler way to explain to you, right? But now let's say coming back to here, explain how it has transformed and the key drivers behind the transformation. So we have done the explanation. These are the points for the explanation. But the question asks to discuss. So when we discuss, you have to consider your own opinions. So how else or what else to add to the answer? So we can mention things like, for example, okay, let's say this, okay, let's say here. So they mentioned that it's more interconnected. We are sourcing for materials from across borders and then blah, 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 right? Okay, is there anything to add to this point, or is there any points to counter what you have just said? So that means we are thinking critically. I tell you that this is one impact. These are the key drivers. But is it 100% true? Is it whatever I mentioned here must be correct? No, right? So here, let's say how we add in for the discussion is we can say, however, right? Let's say we quote the example of trade war. So the US-China trade war, and then this could lead to, let's say, the trend of deglobalization. Okay, so the black portion, we explained that one impact, one key driver or whatever, here is that we are sourcing materials from different countries. However, right, let's say the current trend is people or countries may start to go back to their own country. They don't want to source globally because of the supply chain issues, right? Here, there's a war. I buy from you, it gets delayed. Then there's COVID, right? We have to wait for the port workers to come back. It takes forever to deliver. Why not just do everything ourselves? So if I do everything within the same country, there's no problem with any port delays because no one is going to the port, right? It's all in the same country, faster transport. We are not afraid of the exchange rate fluctuations because it's SGD to SGD, right? One currency to one currency. We are not scared, tomorrow Sing dollar to ringgit suddenly change so much, right? So none of this. So here, this is one side of the argument. This is a counter argument. Okay, so and you can see it's more difficult, right? Like looking at our faces like, oh no. So this will be the minority of the question. If you ask me now, I can't remember because the paper was set some time back. But I do remember there's discussion question. Okay, because you all look like so smart, right? And then you are like ready to go. So cannot disappoint you, right? If everything's so easy, then it doesn't push your intelligence, right? So we want to stretch our intelligence. Then once we finish this, we're like, yes, we are ready to go. Okay, so if you see discussion question, first thing we can add in counter arguments, right? And then at the end of it, once you have finished all your points, we need to provide our opinions at the back. Okay, so two extra parts here. All right, so first thing, for all the points, you can provide counter argument. Let's say I say that this tuxedo is appropriate for tonight, right? This is one side of the argument. And I can also say, however, this is very expensive and I cannot afford. Therefore, I wouldn't choose this after all. Or let's say I'm choosing this, or let's say I'm choosing this, right, for the party. That's one side of the argument. Then later we say, however, I've been wearing this for 5 days. The shirt stinks. Very smelly, cannot. so I have to change, right? So there are like two sides to this same thing. So same thing here, we have one side of the argument, it has led to this change, but we also observe something different happening. So you fight with yourself, okay? So you argue with yourself. Then at the end of it, right, you have to give your overall opinion, which is what we do at the last part. Okay, so the last part here discuss how it has transformed and the key drivers. Yes.
Does it have to fight against the terms? Do we have to go against the terms?
As in whatever points you raise, you can fight against it.
Yeah, do we have to? We support it without opinions.
So we will need two sides so that it shows like a more balanced argument. Okay, but at the end of it, you can still support your original point. So here we can say that overall, so opinions opinions here is the overall, let's say, judgment, or let's say what do we think, right? So we can say things like, okay, for example, so globalization has transformed international businesses, but this was more in the past, maybe less moving forward because blah blah. Okay, so we compare between last time and now. Or we can say this statement could be very true for countries that are still exploring overseas. But for certain countries that are more closed, this statement may be less true. It doesn't transform as much. So we can think in different perspectives. Okay? All right. So now you know what to do. Do very well for the assignment. Okay? So that
just short answers. This is just the short answer.
This one. Yeah. This is just the short answer. Yes. See, we push our boundary, right? We set high standards for ourselves. Okay, we will not go with like one paragraph answer. No, that's not for us. So okay. So that would be the short answer for section B, which is 4 questions. Okay. Essays will be 20 marks each. 20 marks, they would still ask you very similar questions. Okay, it's not like, oh, we ask you 5 parts, right? Don't have. Okay, so again, this one here, it has 2 parts, right? So essay questions, they wouldn't ask you 5 parts together. You'll be like, wow, too much. So you still ask you 2 parts, maybe, not likely 3 parts. Probably not. Okay, I really cannot remember. So probably still 2 parts, but they add in extra things. So it will be like, it will still be explained, but using real world examples. That's why I give you so many things, right? So you remember the examples, So the essays, because it's 20 marks, right? But also you only have 3 hours. So then want you to write a bit more, but not too much. Also want to test a bit. So they'll ask you for the real world examples. Okay, so let's say, I use other examples. So you go down. Okay, let's say this one, So this one here, it's part of an answer. It's very short. All right, so we can edit, modify from there. So for example, the key differences between market economies and command economies, and then how do the differences impact international businesses? So for essays, this one straightforward. For short answer, probably just explain, then that's about it. For essays, they can tweak around. Let's say we have explained what the key differences between both are. And then after that, to discuss, okay? Discuss how these differences impact businesses. Okay, so still 2 parts, never bluff you, still 2 parts, right? But they throw in 2 command words, explain the key differences, and then discuss the differences, how they impact the international businesses. Okay, so the first portion is to explain, the second part is to discuss. So no worries, right? We'll still do this part by part. So we explain first. Let's say this is, okay, use real world examples in your answers. Okay. So probably after today, if you're, this is manageable, right? You can go for exams already. Okay. So explain first the key differences between market economies and command economies. Same thing, we have 4 points to write for the essays. You can stretch to 5 points if you want. So probably 1 to 2 points for the key differences. Okay, 1 to 2 points for the key differences. And also, for essays, you will need the introduction. Okay, because it's essay, right? So you have to start with introduction. So the structure for this can be that you have introduction, and then we're going to provide, let's say, one or two key differences, one paragraph each, and then we'll talk about the impact. So these four parts will be the structure for this answer. All right. Now, introduction, it wouldn't carry much weightage. Okay. So you will just have it for 1 mark. All right. It's sort of like insurance. You have, don't have is fine. If everything here is perfect, you don't really need introduction. Okay. But let's say it's not perfect, then we can use this to get the extra 1 mark. So what we do for introduction is we'll go and define any key terms, or you explain the context. All right. So in this case, the key terms, right? That's why I always stress, remember the definitions, because you can start with those. So market economies, you can mention. Then command economies, you can also mention. So these two, you can define, and that will become your introduction. Okay, then straightforward, right? So let's say in this case, okay, never mind. So we explain what market economy is, right? This is where there's no government intervention, free market, and then command economies would be where government decides what to produce, what you can consume. Okay, full stop. All right. So that can be your introduction. Then we're going on to the key differences. How are they different? Now, when we talk about differences, you have to compare based on one basis, one characteristic, right? Let's say we compare person A and person B, right? So we compare based on height, who is taller, who is shorter. We compare based on, let's say, the age, who is older, who is younger, right? So you have to compare based on a certain basis. And that one basis is 1 point. And you talk about both. Okay, so you cannot say, so comparison, that means you cannot say one paragraph, market economies, they do this, they do that, they do this. Then second paragraph, command economies do this, do that, do this, right? So it becomes very unclear what we are comparing because you are throwing everything together. So to compare, we'll need to talk about, let's say, have or don't have government intervention. So that is one basis. So market economies don't have. Command economies, totally. So that is on one basis. That becomes 1 point. Okay, and we mentioned both. So let's say in this case, they mentioned that this is driven by supply and demand. Prices and production decisions are determined by market forces. Command economies, they are centrally planned. The government will control the industries and set prices and production targets. So for this question, you may want to just give 1 point for this part. If you were to compare, explanation is a lower level question. So you may not want to spend so much time because it's also easier to answer this, right? So spend more time, write more for the discussion part. This will carry more marks. So that is the consideration. Of course, you can still do 2, right? So 2 differences, then 2 impacts, or 1 difference, 3 impacts. But please don't just write only this or only this. So do remember. Then here, second paragraph, international businesses prefer market economies because they are more predictable, fewer restrictions on trade. They may face challenges in command economies due to state intervention, and then corruption and inefficiency more prevalent in command economies. So these are some of the points mentioned. So how can we improve on this answer? You have the structure, you have the question, you have part of the answers. How to improve on this so that we get that perfect score? All aiming for distinction, right? Yes. Examples also missing. Okay, examples of anything
specific to the
question. Okay. So they didn't mention what examples. So the examples could be a country, it could be a company. Okay, we just need example, right? You can also talk about yourself, technically, okay, but wouldn't be relevant. So, okay, so this one we can mention, like, for example, the example. Okay, so the example can be of command economy. So we can mention things like North Korea, right? That's how we saw. North Korea, they will stipulate, let's say, allow haircuts for the people. Okay, then versus, let's say, a free market economy. Okay. So, okay, a close example. Let's say US, any example? Nothing. Today, just some example. Anything?
Stocks.
The stars.
Yeah, the stocks.
What stars?
The stock exchange.
Sorry. Oh, okay. The stock. Okay. Stock exchange can. Okay. All right. So examples of the economies of the countries. Okay. Then what else can we add to this answer? So this is the question. Okay. What else can we add to the answer? Or what else is missing? Or what else is not good enough? So now you are the editor. Okay. So now you are the editor. So we have part of the answer already. What else can we add on? Okay. So we're going to define. Okay. So first part, we're going to define. Okay, never mind. Shift this. Let's say we define then command economy. Okay. So definition. Now definition, of course, it's still considered optional, but I would say just right. Okay, but if you're really very confident that the answers you write will be perfect, then you can just skip this part. Okay. All right. So next part, we have 1 point, which is the difference between market economies and command economies. So one is demand supply, one is centrally planned. Any differences that we want to add on as well? Any other differences like between both? So command economy, there is everything planned by the government. Free market economy, the government doesn't do anything. Okay, so the price of education, as we said, can go up to like $1 million per month for university. So be it, right? Cigarettes can be super cheap, and then the children can start smoking. There's no law, there's no taxes, it's not expensive, right? I get $2 pocket money, I can also afford to smoke because it's costing 10 cents, right? So then they will smoke. So that'll be free market. So any differences can, but you still have to contrast.
So like the pros for command economies, and then
Will be the
cons as for the market.
okay, which is
Government regulation. Flatline regulations.
okay, let's say Texas. Give the example of Texas. Okay. So like so let's say for command economy, then the government they impose taxes. Okay. Then here we use the economics term. This term here we say that it's demerit goods. Okay, so it's deemed to be hurtful, harmful to the consumers, and it will usually be over-consumed, right? If you guys, we did market failure, right? You're saying, okay. So if you recall from market failure, for those who took econs in July, you guys remember? Okay, never mind.
Question. Would taxes not be command economy? Would that be more socialist maybe?
Closer to that side. So it'll still be closer to, because only contrasting both. So only market and non-market.
So it could just be close to socialist.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so demerit goods, these are products that are usually harmful, over-consumed in the free market. Free market, that means government don't do anything, right? People will drink too much alcohol, smoke too much. Okay, the opposite is a merit good, something that's very good, very beneficial, but people don't use so much. Healthcare, education. Okay, so demerit goods examples would be alcohol, and then cigarettes. Okay, so we impose taxes, it will reduce the consumption so that you can steer the consumption to like the good level, right? So government may decide, okay, if you want to smoke, okay, we allow a bit, because they don't ban, because smoking can still generate income, right? And can create jobs. So we don't just ban smoking in, let's say, Singapore. But if in the extreme case, let's say drugs, ecstasy, ice, right, we ban, because the problem is too huge. We cannot allow any companies to come in, make profit, but like half the population is addicted, and then no one can work. So in that case, different policies. So here, they may impose, adjust the consumer's behavior, while in the free market, there is no policy. Okay, so you can mention like that. If you want, you can continue. You can say that as a result, in the command economy, you could have fewer problems associated with over smoking, over drinking, right? Accidents, deaths, health issues. Whereas in the free market, there will be more of such problems. More people unable to afford education. cannot go to schools, cannot afford healthcare, smoke too much, drink too much, etc. Okay, so this could be the second difference. So here, this is the intro. I use another color. Huh? So here we have the intro where we define the terms, and then we have next paragraph. This would be your difference 1. And then next part, we have the difference 2. So difference 1, difference 2 now starts to make a bit more sense, right? So the structures, we are following this. So we have done this, we have done this. Then we need 2 to 4 impacts. So depending on how many points you want to write, how many points you have already written for this, then you adjust how much you want to write for this part. Okay, so let's say on discussing the impact on international businesses, right? This is a question. So here, one thing is this will be more predictable with a market economy, and they will face challenges in command economy because of intervention and then bureaucracy as well. So this we can use as the impact 1K. Any other impact that we want to mention? No, I just sit down. And then I realized that, okay, we are doing this question in the exam, right? And then you're doing 2 of this, you're doing 2 of this, and then 4 of the one that we did just now. And then I feel so tired for you. But it's okay. Sorry, again.
Public and conduct also.
Okay.
Consumer behavior, they have a chance to.
Okay, so international businesses. Okay, so here, let's say for market economy, and able to introduce new products. Customers can experience a wider range of products. This one? Okay. Then command economy would be the, okay, would not have this. So command economy, that's like, okay. Okay, so points wise, bare minimum we have reached. Okay, we have reached the bare minimum. So at the minimum, based on what we have outlined just now, we need intro, we have 1 to 2 key differences, we have at least 2 impacts we have, but we haven't counted yet. And we still need our opinions. Okay? Okay. Not okay. Too much. Okay. So when we counter, you need not counter every single point. All right. Just show that you have counted something and you have done your opinions, then that's okay. Right? Let's say we raise 3 impacts and we decide to counter, let's say this one, then it's enough already. Right? But of course, if you want to be like perfect, then you can do counter for every single point. Because if you do a perfect job and then you deserve 20 marks, other people that didn't do so well will no longer deserve 20 marks, right? You become the new benchmark. Okay, all right. So the new slogan for today, become the benchmark. Okay, set the benchmark. So let's say, let's say I have done the content already, the basic points, right? And we want to see if there's anything to argue against, right? Whatever I've written. So it says here, this is more predictable, less restrictions on trade and investment, right? This part we can also counter. Okay, so however, this is not always the case, right? Governments still implement policies as and when they deem fit, or we can also say that it is likely that there is no absolute command or market economy, and thus predictably is always okay. So you are just trying to argue, that's all, right? We say that with market economy, it is more predictable, then you find a problem with that. It's not fixed like, oh, you can only argue this way, right? You can argue it any way. So if I say I choose the black tuxedo, right? You want to argue. Just say that this one don't suit you. This looks so expensive. You look so cheap. You shouldn't wear it. That's one way. This is too expensive for you. You cannot afford. Don't buy. This one don't have your size. You are too skinny. You are too fat. Not suitable, right? This one is going to take forever to tailor, and you don't want to wait, right? So there are many reasons to counter, right? Different things. So here you just need to find perspective so that you don't fully agree with what you have written. That's all. Okay, it's just to show critical thinking. So you can give the case of, let's say, government may always implement policies as and when they deem fit, or let's say there is no absolute command of market economy. So the predictability here we say is more predictable, but we argue and say it is not always like that, right? Just find something to argue. So you may have your own points that make sense to you, just use it. Okay? Okay, last part. Then we'll add in the opinions. Okay, so all the best for exams, okay? Okay, opinions here, we are supposed to discuss about the impacts. Okay, as an overview, right, they talk about how the differences impact the international businesses. So as a whole, looking at all the points you raised, right, any thoughts come to your mind? This is your final opinion, your final thought, a final statement to finish the answer. All right. Again, you can talk about different aspects. You can say that it is mostly good benefits or good impacts. It is mostly negative impacts. Or you can say that there are good and bad, but the good is more than the bad, or the bad is more than the good. Or you can say right now, in the short term, the benefits are more, but in the long term, there are more problems, right? So you can think in different ways. Or you can say they will benefit if they go to country ABC, because they will not benefit if they go to country XYZ, because, so different perspective. Everything you can just write. Don't need to write all that I mentioned, okay? You can just write from one perspective, then we are done. So let's say here, okay, let's say here, market economy better here, then we argue and we say able to introduce newer products. Okay, so let's say for this, generally, let's say firms, they prefer market economy as they innovate, sell new products, make more profits, and command economy. Okay, so something like that, right? Again, you may not agree, right? Then you say something else. Okay, so this will be very flexible because it's really your opinion. You can like the tuxedo, you can hate the tuxedo, but you have to explain something. So for here, if I say that market economy is better because something, then I have to explain why, right? Or I say that maybe a command economy creates more benefits because the firms are protected. They won't lose a job because the government will tell you, hey, produce, right? So you already have an order. Whereas for this, right, today if I'm selling iPhone 3, will you buy? iPhone 3. Do you know iPhone 3? iPhone 3.
iPhone 3 was in the late 2000s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I wasn't born yet, so I also don't know.
I was child.
Yeah, okay, then I'm younger. I wasn't born yet. Okay, so iPhone 3 looks like that, right? Would you buy? Probably not, right? I haven't even heard of this before. But you probably would consider iPhone 15, right? Because it's the latest. So then, market economy, there's no intervention, right? So you can choose what to buy. They can choose what to sell. So if they're selling something that no one is buying, then it gets eliminated, right? So it's very competitive. But command economy is a different thing. So if today you go to country ABC and the government orders iPhone 3 to be produced, and you as a consumer, as the citizen, cannot say no. You can only use iPhone 3, or you can use Samsung S98, right? So yeah, it looks like that. Okay, so then how? You will still use, right? Better than nothing. This came about, I think, 2010, 2009, around there. Okay lah. So I just finished my army. Okay, and then at that time, because army you can't use smartphones. At that time, now you can. So at that time, no camera phones, no smartphone, very unsmartphones. So if you know the BlackBerry, is it BlackBerry? So if you're going into army in Singapore, not the fruits, you can use this, or you can use the HTC phone. Right? I don't think anyone using it now, but HTC, yeah, this brand. Okay, so this one, because there's not the non-camera one. Yes.
What is it?
I really don't know. Yes, this one, I remember. So it's a non-camera phone. So when we were enlisting like 10 years ago, you can choose this or the BlackBerry phone. Okay, then I remember like after finishing army, right? Because now you can change your phone, right? Of course, these phones are still working, but not going to use after that. This one at that time, WhatsApp wasn't launched yet. Okay, very old, right? Then we started having like the iPhone 3, the Samsung S3. Oh yeah, memories. So anyway, that one came out about 10 plus years ago. If now in this case, if you get to choose, you wouldn't use those models, right? But command economy, if the government says they can only produce this, you can consume only this, then this would still be in demand, right? You will still be using the S3, where is it? Yeah, S3, iPhone 3. So it could be good and bad. Okay, so see which perspective you argue. You could fight for command economy with more benefits. You could fight for market economy with more benefits. All right, just see where you're coming from. Okay, so that will be discussion question. Questions? Okay. So then, yeah, okay. So now you know the whole setup, huh? So please, as you write, make sure that you know the structure in mind. How is your answer going to be, right? What parts to have? So if you really have time, feel free to also put this down first. Okay? Unless you're very clear, you have it in your mind, or like you really know time to do this. But if you do have, spend maybe like 1-2 minutes, right? Just planning out first. Okay? Because the command word will also affect your structure. Explain and discuss versus explain, explain. Then the worst is discuss, discuss. I don't think have. I don't think I don't think have. Okay, but yes, there will be discussed. But I cannot remember if you have discussed. So if they ask you to discuss, then for the first part, here we did the difference, right? The difference is explained. But if we ask you to discuss, then you also have to add in your counter for either this one or this one. Okay, so every time discussion, it has two things. You need to counter the argument and then also add in the opinion. So if the first part, this is to discuss the key differences, then you also give your opinions at the end here. So you cannot just write this anymore. You have to write extra because the question is asking for extra things. Questions? Don't have. Okay. Let me see if I miss anything here. Okay. Okay, just the last part. Okay, last part. Right now, I squeeze out your energy already. Okay, so this one is just for reference. It's not a key portion for the exam. That's why I skip to the back. Right, we did the economic first. Okay. Okay, so that's why I push the economic portion first. We go through thoroughly. This you may choose to use for your research. So I just briefly mentioned you may or may not want to use depending on what you write for your research. So let's say you talk about the legal systems. You don't have to be an expert. In case you're like, oh, so many laws to remember, huh? Just roughly understand like how they set the rules and regulations, and then how they decide on all these like disputes. So in terms of the legal systems, they split between like mostly the common law and then also the civil law system. These are the common ones. Okay, so the common law, this would be the cases of, let's say, Singapore, right? And you see the cases of US, UK. So the court rulings will play a significant role. That means, let's say today there's this court case, right? This person, I slapped you, okay? And you're not happy, you sue me, right? So how they decide on the final ruling, the judgment is, they will look for a previous case. Last time, did anything similar happen before? So now I slap you, you sue me, right? What is the penalty? What is the outcome? So let's say 10 years ago, also happened the same thing, right? Person A slapped person B, then person B sue person A. So what was the outcome? How did the judge rule? So if that happened and there was a similar decision made, then they will only refer to the previous decision. So as a judge, they wouldn't be coming up with a new solution. They will just see, hey, is there any like previous decision rulings made, and we just give back the same verdict. Okay, so this would be the case like common law, right? Then civil law here, they rely more on the statutes and the codes. So they are not focusing so much on the previous cases. So just looking at the law itself, right? The law will tell us, okay, this is how we interpret. This is what happened. You slap this person, the law says you should be fined. That's all. Okay, so the difference here, in this case, the law says you should be fined, full stop. In this case, maybe a very old judge 10 years ago said, we will ignore this rule and we will jail that person. So the laws and the rulings may be a bit different, so they may rely very heavily on the previous ruling. Okay, so just a brief understanding. Then with this, we go on to things like the contract law, intellectual property, labor law, right? So depending on your companies as well, some of the companies, they are quite involved, right, in, let's say, the intellectual property cases. Okay, so you may say like, hey, you are copying my ideas. You are stealing my formula. Right? So all this may involve the intellectual property laws. Okay, so you may want to see like what are the cases involved. You may want to see like how has that affected the business strategy, or does the business strategy cause all these problems to arise? Okay, makes sense, huh? Is it too much for today? No. Because you have a good rest, I only see you guys on, give me a while, huh? I only see you guys on Monday, right? 12 p.m. and it's online, so it's like no class, right? Yeah, you'll come lah, but maybe like no one listening. Okay, so I only see you on Monday, right? So have a good rest. Okay, so coming back, yes. Okay, so you may want to talk about the legal systems. You may or may not have anything to talk about, let's say intellectual property law, right? IP. Then labor law itself, this is quite interesting, right? Let's say we decide to go into Australia to do business. Okay, let's say now this company branches into Australia. And if you read the news, okay, here, this article. Okay, so the link is attached. If you want, you can look at it. So this is very recent, August 26, 2024. Okay, this was like on CNA, Channel News Asia, I kept playing. So Australia is the latest country to give workers the right to disconnect after hours. Okay, so part of the new labor law as well, right? So you have permission to ignore the bosses outside of working hours. Of course, you already can ignore, right? But you may feel a bit scared, like, hey, I ignore you, I don't reply you, and then tomorrow you threaten to fire me, right? Because, I mean, you could, but you just don't want to face the consequences. So now the law protects them better. Probably is like you cannot fire them on the grounds of them ignoring you. You cannot say, hey, because yesterday midnight, you didn't reply my message. So I'm not happy, I fire you today. Cannot. Okay, because this law protects them, right? But of course, they have things like, okay, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, apply to small businesses fewer than 15 starting in August 2025, right? And then it is to protect the workers' free time. And also, okay, coming back here. Okay, the law says a person's refusal to respond will be considered unreasonable under certain conditions. Let's say the seniority, personal circumstances, the reason for the contact, and how much disruption it causes them. So you are a junior worker, and then the boss is just calling you to like chit chat. Then this probably helps you, right? Because they can't do that. Okay, but let's say you are the managing director, right? And the CEO calls you and say, hey, something really has happened, like emergency fire just broke out. And then you say, I refuse to answer. I need to sleep now. Good night. Then that may not cover. Okay, so depending on all these elements. So this one, right, if let's say you're talking about a company that has, let's say, going to Australia or operating in Australia, then this may be relevant. Okay, or like, let's say look at France, right? This one I'm not sure. So let's say France, they have like some working hours restrictions, right? Oh, this one. Okay, so French working hours, this is at 35 hours per week, right? And then beyond this are compulsory paid as overtime. Okay, Singapore, very sad. This is 35, so if you look at Singapore, it is at 44 hours. Okay, so like moving to France tomorrow. Okay, so these will have implications, all right? So like you cannot exceed, or like they must have rest day, you have to pay overwork pay, etc. Right? So all this, again, if it's relevant to your assignment, feel free to include. If you find that too much information, don't understand, don't feel like using, that's also okay. All right, just giving you ideas. So depending on what country, the rules and regulations may be different. If they're operating in different countries, then you may also want to compare the laws. Does it affect the business at all? Okay, that's all, right? Okay, have a good weekend.